Hey guys, how's it going today? So in a new interview with Ewan McGregor, the negotiator himself, he goes on to explain how it was great working with Hayden again on Kenobi, and that after all these years, it was like no time had passed at all. He goes on to explain a few things that I'll cover in another video on its own, but in this one I want to talk about how he mentions standing next to Hayden Christensen as he's playing Anakin Skywalker. He says they were on set together, he looked over next to him to see Hayden playing Anakin as if no time had passed. He didn't see any difference in his face, and it felt like there wasn't any gap between episode 3 and now. So this obviously immediately confirms, if you didn't know already, that we'll be getting Anakin and ObiWan Clone Wars flashback scenes. Now beyond fanboying over this, of course, I think the scenes of Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars could literally be of anything from Revenge of the Sith era, and we have to wonder, how is this essentially going to evolve the show? How is it going to add value besides, fan service? So this will definitely not be teenage Anakin from Attack of the Clones, seeing as how Hayden was standing there, and I doubt it's deepfaked to make him, younger. Maybe just to Revenge of the Sith, and that's it. Around the time of Order 66, during the Clone Wars. Now we could get certain scenes from the Clone Wars TV show itself. I mean, imagine if we had a live-action Mortis flashback, or maybe them just fighting in the Clone Wars again side by side or back to back against droids. What if we get a Dooku fight that we never saw on screen but we saw in the Clone Wars? Or heck, we could even get the Cad Bane duel. I think all of this is definitely something we have to see in live action, but the one thing in particular is to see Obi-Wan and Anakin in their Clone Wars armor. Now we gotta ask how this elevates the show, and to answer that is very dependent on the context. Now it could be a hologram that Kenobi is looking at, perhaps it's a hologram that Leia is seeing, maybe from R2. But what I really think is it's either Obi-Wan or Vader reminiscing, remembering moments of the past and the good times. Now, if Kenobi is remembering this, it could be, sure, as I said, for the good times. But something more interesting, I think, would be if he was remembering all of the moments that Anakin had tendencies of the dark side, red flag moments, essentially. This is a moment for Obi-Wan to analyze all of the issues that Anakin had, all of the red flags that he missed about Anakin turning to the dark side, or maybe things that he could have prevented, things that Qui-Gon would have seen. And at this point, of course, Obi-Wan blames himself so much, and he's defeated entirely, as he says. So I think like any person in such a traumatic experience, they would be going over things a million different times in their head, and how things could have been different had they changed something. How we all do that. Things perhaps they should have noticed, things perhaps Obi-Wan could have sidestepped or maybe been more caring for Anakin. At this point, he feels like everything is his fault, so he's really going to be taking it hard on the shoulder and carrying that heavy burden of basically ruining the entire galaxy and blaming himself for the fall of the Jedi. Now, perhaps we'll see moments of Anakins Rage that we never saw in all new scenes that make us see for real just how Obi-Wan missed the mark and how Qui-Gon would have maybe handled it so much better, as Dave Filoni said. I think it's important to show how much the effects of Order 66 have impacted both Kenobi and Vader, as well as the rest of the galaxy. Because at this point, Vader is very conflicted. He's always been conflicted. And as time passes on, he becomes a little less and less, or maybe just pushes it to the side a little bit until it resurfaces with Luke, who reminds him of his wife, Padme, who in turn reminds him of his old life as Anakin Skywalker. And it's this constant conflict and turmoil that doesn't really allow Vader to fully enter the dark side the way Palpatine wants. And for that reason, Sidious has gone as far as disallowing Vader to use the Force or his lightsaber in certain scenarios as a way of proving himself and testing himself to see really what he's capable of. I mean, this was the Chosen One, and once he lost to Obi-Wan, he lost so many of his abilities, including his main power, which many don't know about, and that was the ability to see into the future. I think if Anakin still had this ability as Vader, he probably would have been able to see further into the future for his future, and thus preventing so many things that could have happened under Palpatine's rule. He probably could have seen that his son would have entered the scene eventually. In the comics, he did see this, however, it was in some weird portal thing under his castle with Lord Momin, and he probably didn't really understand fully exactly what it was. So what I really want to see is the heart of Anakin Skywalker breaking through, and this constant turmoil and collision, and this contrast between Anakin and Vader within the same person, within his own mind. And I'm all there for it. I want to see him lash out. I want to see him deal with this pain. And I want to see him really be a little introspective with his own thoughts and to see what he does perhaps in his downtime. What does he do when he's recovering in his bacta tank or when he's in his meditation chamber? Is he watching holograms of Padme? Is he thinking about his old life? Or is he focusing on his hatred for Kenobi and just trying to find him? These are all of the things about Anakin that I would love to see, and I think we really need to see in the show. It's explained beautifully in the books as well as the comics, both legends and canon. So I think if they can capture a glimpse of any of these scenarios from the source material and even embellish it or create some new things, I think we're in good hands. And with Kenobi, I hope you guys aren't expecting a very happy and upbeat Kenobi. This is going to be a very defeated, beaten, and sad Kenobi, one that we have never seen before. And how is he going to overcome this depression and blaming himself for the essentially turn of the entire galaxy and the loss of his best friend as he develops into Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Ben Kenobi, the hermit on Tatooine that we see in episode 4, played by Alec Guinness. As I said, I am more excited for this show than anything else that has come out from Star Wars since Revenge of the Sith, and I'm really excited to experience it with you guys for the first time. I find myself pretty lucky to have gone through the prequels as a kid and as a teenager, and to have seen them in theaters and to go through all that hype as it was happening for the first time, and now to be able to enjoy this in my early 30s. I feel pretty happy to be a Star Wars fan, and I have all of you to enjoy it with as well. So to close this video, the point of this show isn't to deliver fan service. I think it's to add to the story and fill into the pages, or at least that should be the goal, I feel like. It's to help us connect A New Hope to Revenge of the Sith even better, and to establish more character arcs along the way. Now I think in doing so and introducing new characters, I believe we could get new shows and new spin-offs set in this time period between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, or even between Kenobi and A New Hope, because there are so many more things they can develop and talk about, including showing Obi-Wan fighting Darth Maul for the very last time. I think it's awesome that Ewan and Hayden are still friends and that they hang out, as he mentioned in this interview. I'll go over some other things that he mentioned as well, including how sad Obi-Wan is going to be in this. He really, really drove that point home. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and my thoughts on it. Please let me know your thoughts too. I'd love to read your guys' comments as much as I can, so I'll catch you guys in the next video on Star Wars Theory. Until then, remember, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends, the Force will be with you always.